My dear, that was most dear, most kind, most righteous, which willing to all the students, all the friends, and all the father, mother, brothers, sisters, all the sentient beings. So I am. Yeah. Oh, then but the life is not just achieve liberation from samsara, blissful state of peace once forever, even though it's forever. For just idea. Well, I think so many people in the West have depression. So many people have depression, millions and millions and millions of people. So that's one thing is because doesn't know the meaning of life. Having a Dharma, so doesn't know how to live the life. So, but that's why so many people has depression, millions and millions. Doesn't know what is life for, what is life is for. It's like the militaries, American militaries, armies after a war. Saudi Arabia, no, to Iraq. After bombs, they have seen so many people dying. But their friends, such unbelievable bombs and all can't imagine. So when those alive came back to America, the country, your own country. So it's all good, their family, their wife, their children. But it's totally compared to what the lives for. Could not tell really what the lives for them. Completely they don't understand. So, so I heard every day, 20 people or something commit suicide, but a lot, commit suicide. So so in the world, particularly in the West, millions and millions of people are depressed. So, that's what I have something to say, but I forgot what I was talking in the beginning, please.
Purpose of life. Purpose of life, the meaning of life.
Yeah. So basically that. Then I happen with Dharma, and then doesn't know and then the thing is that so it doesn't have kind of what is intellectual, what is more heart understanding the reincarnation karma doesn't have. Really, no? Then you think, you stop the breath and then it's supposed to have nothing, no, like a candle stopped. When the candle finishes, the light stopped, no? So it's nothing. So you think, then you have no problem. So it's totally wrong. Due to skies of ignorance, that know the mind has to continue bodhichitta, the mind comes to continue. Doesn't know. As the continuation, the mind has no beginning, so much suffering from beginningless. It's cause of suffering, samsara. Then again, in the future, have to go through that. No idea, nothing, no idea. This scarce for ignorance. Then, you see, so the candles finish, the light, the curtain, there's no conscience. Then you don't exist. Oh, you don't exist. Well, according to the concept, you don't exist, so you don't have a problem. It's a huge scarce of ignorance, wrong concept. And so many people are following that. Even though there's no other people killing, you hold yourself. Yes, of course, many times the spirits. You have problem, with attachment, with the self-cherishing. Yeah. With the anger things, you have problems, then connect with that. The spirit cause problem. Then somebody yourself, you are alone wouldn't be able to do that. You can see, comments to that. Yes, there's some things which you can see there. How it's done is how you killed, and many times, I've seen, not I've seen, but I heard, I think I may have seen one monk, Baksa, where I lived 80 years. This concentration camp during British, when British India was under British control. So that even Gandhiji was present there, Nehru was present there, present in the house where Sarah Monk Puja, and also lived there. Some monks, and the Gandhiji was were all house, just buyers, were thrown buyers to the story. And that all the house, and the inside the Gandhiji was present. So later nuns were put there. I don't know where they came from Tibet, yes. But they're the only ones who will build a new house later. Lived near. Then the representative is one is the Lama, a very famous one from Tibet. He lived there. I don't know his name. From Tibet, very high official. So I went 2 times to him to correct my Tibet letter. I think that's on 2 times. So I still do his corrections and writing. The Umi. So he suggested me to go to Ulsanat University, Tibetan University. But I didn't go. So there was one monk, leader of the puja, Sarah, I think Sarah, I'm not sure, but the leader of the whole puja, Sarah, Yeah, senior one. So, yeah, I guess, crazy or not. So anyway, he was taken from home, I think maybe 1 mile or half or some part then on the side of the mountain. There's a ruined, the mountain kind of one side, ruined rocks fell down, ruined, you know. So there's this tree, the branches very high. So I used to go to get medicine for TB, at TB, injection on my back by a nurse, by missionary from Finland. It's on the mountain where the Bhutanese, and so she gives medicine, but also it's a small church made of bamboo. Yeah. So, so I could get injection. Of course, we have in the hospital inside, with all the ones. So, yeah, sometimes. I didn't see, but I heard Indian, the knee, the needle sharp on the wood, sharp on the stone like this, sharp on the stone like this, like knife. Before putting in there. Yeah, it happened. I didn't see but it. Yeah. But you used to recognize the injection was very helpful. If you have fever, then you should get injection. It was kind of it's a kind of a good thing to have injection. It helped, and so I can't do that. But not only India, but we have he was sort of oracle, Taije, so he's come to injection to me and other monks. So anyway, so this monk was this leader of the Puja, he was taken half mile, then tree very high, branches very high, hanged, ropes very high. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't be able to that. Oh, the spirit, cause they hang where? I think I may have seen that very road number, but cross hang. That. So there are many different ways. So it's the immortal spirit. Yes, sir. We know well that. Yeah, so, and the West don't believe spirit, like people, that person did right. But anyway, basically, not knowing the purpose of life, not knowing the purpose of life, because to me Dharma, holy Dharma, not all the Dharma. So I was going to say something, but I forgot why I mentioned this. Yeah, I'm just saying, but it didn't come to that point. So that's you had to remember the point. Yeah. So you have to question, analyze, even your life decisions. You have to question, you have to analyze. Otherwise, you see, you are totally occupied by spirits. Relating to your problem, then spirits use your mind, invade your mind, like men in China invaded Tibet. So they invade your mind, and the person doesn't know. Person doesn't know, doesn't check. You see that? So you believe it is as it is yourself. Oh, your mind. I want this, I want this. So then follow that, you do that, then finish. Other different things. You die. Many different ways. Think that's what you want, but you know the spirit invaded your mind, possess your mind. No idea. No idea. Very scary, very scary. Ooh. So, yeah, the other way is, you have to always analyze. Why I'm doing this? Why I have to do it? You have to go together. Otherwise, it's dangerous, very dangerous. To yourself. Like Buddha said, you are enemy to yourself, as well as yourself, guide to yourself. That. When you think a proper way, analyzing logically, following that way, you are guiding yourself. Then you don't do that. You follow the spirit world, possess world. It's a myself. Then you harm your enemy to yourself. So when you practice Dharma, you guide yourself. When you don't practice Dharma, when you follow 3 parts of the mind, self-cherishing thought, ignorance, grudging eye, hold the eye, then, you're enemy to yourself. Because maybe you suffer from beginning to birth now, again, numberless times through that. Not only that, but you harmed numberless sentient beings. You did already in the past. Numberless sentient beings you harmed numberless times. Now, and will be like that. You have to know all these things. Okay. So when you practice Dharma, especially when you practice the bodhichitta, then you guide yourself. Yeah. So that time you become guru to yourself, or in the path. All like that is it. So it depends on. So then. Okay. So the purpose lies to benefit others, not to harm others and their backs. So to free the numberless, helping the hundreds of animals, human beings, asura beings, from the oceans of its sufferings. Not that, to bring everyone to feel his happiness to the state of omniscience by yourself. everyone. Yeah. Yeah. Who are around you, outside, inside. Even the mosquitoes, even the tiny insects crawling, there's near you, all. Then for that you need to achieve certain omniscience. For that, then, to certain the path of enlightenment, they need to purify, complete marriage. So whatever I'm going to listen to the teachings. Okay. So because of virus, I got lojong. So already I spoke of it. I have particular subject besides the introduction. Okay. Yeah, didn't yeah, okay. A little bit didn't go but Geneva, they saw Marite. 상시 통해 대답봐. 땡진 대화 중심. So to begin with that. Didn't go what never how much all suffering or suffering all suffering for sentient beings. How much there is. Including depression and everything. Suffering, death, old age, things of death, rebirth, and dissatisfaction, separate problem, desirable object, meeting the undesirable object. Even you found, could not find. All that. Then suffering will change. Yeah. Yeah, what you believe pleasure, that doesn't last. Doesn't last. So, yeah. So, as the Lama explained, the Lama dream, The hunger, for example. And when there's much hunger, you see, you eat the first spoon of food, then you feel pleasure. So you keep on eating, then the pleasure, that pleasure becomes less, and more discomfort of eating, by eating food, more discomfort as you eat more. So at the beginning, you see, the heavy suffering of hunger stopped by eating, the first spoonful, the second spoonful, third, like that. So, but then, second suffering, discomfort by eating food, it started already from very tiny, from very subtle, from very small. You don't notice normally. So, the previous suffering, hunger, stopped from great, then the next suffering, discomfort for eating food, started already, but from very small, by eating food. So more as you eating. So there's a suffering, but another suffering stopped from bigger, but then the new suffering, second suffering started already, but so small. So the feeling, so that's the feeling. Another suffering stopped, another suffering began. So that's called pleasure. So that's what samsara pleasure is. So that's samsara pleasure, all samsara pleasure should understand in their nature by analyzing. So, and how to call and all the rest. So that's. So, yeah. So it changes. What you label pleasure, and it comes from your mind. Basically, comes from your mind. Right? Then you see, but so to the hallucinatory mind, then after you label pleasure, then it appears as come from yourself, not from your mind. It just come from its own side. To the hallucinatory mind, it appears that way. So then it goes on like that. So even that changes. Sooner or later it changes. It can even eating or if you stay in water longer. So the pleasure changes. It's become a suffering of pain. Doing. So everything don't last. Even you call it pleasure, but it don't last. But by analyzing, only do not last, but if you check and analyze, you label pleasure on the level of suffering. Base is suffering, another suffering stops, another suffering begins. That's the feeling. So you label pleasure. So it's like that. There's some sort of pleasure like that. That's why it doesn't last. So out to the hallucinatory mind, it appeared, pleasure appeared, not labeled by your mind, but it exists from its own side. appeared to the hallucination mind, to your hallucination mind. So then believe in that 100% true. Oh, so even you believed in that 100% true, but then it changes, it doesn't last. And the suffering pain increases more and more. As you try that pleasure, or it's going to do, so that. Like some alcohol, you drink first, or you felt good, the second, then more, then drunk, then complete drunk. You fight. Then what bad things other people you have in the mind, then that time you don't have shy, you're ashamed, come out, then you fight. Or some people are total sleep. Or some, like that. So you do everything what you don't shy, ashamed. So that and then, so then being attached to that, so much attached to the pleasure, then that becomes the cause, become the nearest cause of samsara. Nearest cause of samsara. I don't remember the words, but Lama said, "Desi shakpe kwe zonra jing." Desi shakpe kwe zonra jing. So the desire, craving, leisure of the shakpa, leisure of the desire, craving, bound you to the samsara, bound you to the samsara prison. This is so bound you. Samsara prison by the leisure of the desire craving. So that's why when we take refuge with Dharma, Dvajata Tawa Nangi Chola I go for refuge through the Dharma, Uri Dharma, the supreme, the liberation from the attachment, or the unity Dharma. Ganyen so Sanjali, Dvajata Tawa Nangi Chola. That's a great meaning. Supreme one, supreme liberation from attachment. So that's our nearest cause, samsara is that attachment. So from beginning, it's rebirth, we've been doing that. So this attachment tied us to tied us to samsara. When suffering from beginning, it's rebirth now. Sufferings of the helping, sufferings of the hunger, sufferings of the ocean, sufferings of helping, ocean sufferings of helpings, ocean suffering, hunger goes, ocean sufferings of animals, ocean sufferings of human beings, ocean. So Sura means Ashur Savan Asur. From beginning let's say but so very good to apply these examples. It's like clinging, grasping, cleaving to the samsara pleasure is like looking for the pleasure. It's like the fish. You know, when the fishermen with the worm, fishing worm, wire contour, then put in the water. They look like, oh, there's worm that to eat. Wow. Then you run to eat. You know, oh, that. Then caught. Then caught. Then just die, you come out. Then you cut all the sharp, you cut the hair. Then, so cheated. Your desire cheated. Your desire, something like that, cheated you totally. That's how the fish are cheated. Is cheated? Yes, but not just the fishermen, but desire. That's real. Let's run. They cheated. Their own mind cheated themselves. You can see, not just the fishermen. No. You see, if you know that, then fishermen cannot cheat. If the fish knew that, there's no way to run. There's to run back, So that's not cheat. But that's ignorance, not knowing. Ignorance, sky for ignorance. So come on, this pleasure, run the pleasure. Cheated by your attachment, the desire, completely, see? Cheat you, lost. Even the life you lost. So that's a very good example. I think I mentioned already a long time ago. A long time ago I mentioned a few times. That's a good example how the cheat. So it's saying what the fish that cheated by the desire. See? So same thing when we seek something of pleasure. So it's a causes to be reborn lower realms. So then it causes suffering from life to life, not just one life, causes a lot of suffering, causes samsara, ocean suffering, not just one life. But the fisherman, the God, is one life, but here in the attachment to Lord and suffer. Sometimes eons for a long time. Lama. Then also the category. When the flies they see the flame or light. See, they run. They're going to run. There's something, I don't know, some wonderful thing there. They run towards that. They try to go inside the flame. It's not just well satisfied around the light, but it's trying to go inside the light. Is it flame or kindle flame or fire or something, you see? They would try to go really inside. I don't know what they see, what the hallucination they have. Then just get inside, but get burned. So a candle, the butter flame or candle or something, then they get inside. Completely the body, the wax, completely wrapped in wax. Difficult to help. If it's a big one, you can help. But so tiny, difficult difficult to take it out. So small. Without breaking the body, so tiny, so difficult. Completely wrapped with the wax. Well, they're all dead. Oh. The shortcoming is a desire for the pleasure. Damn, you're completely cheated. That's a very good example. So, yeah, without bodhichitta, without good heart, ultimate good heart, benefit sentiments. Even it's pleasure, but pleasure for, using for sentiments. Not that sense. Only for your own pleasure there. So it's all like that. Oh, so like this example. So this is one life, burn, but I don't life to life. So there are many examples. Like the female elephant, you keep in the cage, or what do you call cage? Yeah, you keep female. Then male elephant all run towards that. You see? So they think they can use. but when they arrive there, they're in the cage. So, looking for some self-pleasure. For self, you see, for self. That's some whole. Then same as you see, on the knife, you have honey, So you lick, you get honey, but also cut your tongue. Yeah, same. Looking for some sort of pleasure for yourself. All like that. That's the exact example is nothing. But the cheat you up. Life to life. So all that suffering and change. And then third suffering previous compound and suffering japa do deje dua. Yeah, then I can get into the control of anger, everything into the control of delusion, karma, totally. So that's why he's actually into the control, totally prevented by suffering. Yeah, totally prevented by suffering. Not free from suffering. Why? That's why Buddha has shown Four Noble Truths. First Buddha, like Madhya Buddha said, Nende Shecha, Nige June Pangcha, Dene Topcha, Mene Tempa Tar. So the disease to non-cause of disease, order to be abandoned. The cureness of that what to be achieved. The medicine to achieve that is what to follow. So therefore, suffering to no cause suffering is the karma is what to get it all. the cessation of that suffering causes the true cessation of suffering, the Nirvana, for happiness forever. The path was to follow partners to actualize. And so path to actualize follow. Oh, you see, Buddha has shown, how to get rid of, how to cease the cause of suffering. Do the karma. What makes that get to the nature of suffering? So in Buddha Dharma, the two explained the philosophy text. Lumbering the essence and the philosophy, the 12 is explained. Oh, that's why you need to study. Just mentioned, just nothing, stop thinking, that's the whole, using whole life to stop thinking. Then afterwards you become crazy. You become dull, like a dull knife, dull. That's destroy yourself, your intelligence. So, you see? Spend a whole life, nothing exists, there's no action, there's no object purpose. So, that doesn't solve the problem. When the problem comes, when you get cancer, what do? There's no me, there's no cancer. When you get cancer, when the doctor says you have cancer. So there was one monk in Thailand, and Taiwan, one monk. His guru accepted only one disciple. Cannot accept other, only one. It's good. So the guru died. The young boy, I don't know, 25. So he tried to be serious. He tried to. He's the only disciple, so he tried to be so serious. But he's because Zen, nothing exists. So I said, well, nothing exists. Then how do you go to the bathroom? You have to go to your kitchen too. I'm not sure, I don't remember that. Cook, to eat food, get food. But you have to go to the bathroom. After you want kitchen, after you eat food, you have to go to the bathroom. So the bathroom doesn't exist. No way you to toilet. I don't know what he said. Anyway, then you get on the pervasive that. That means pervasive, means you're in the samsara, you say, the lowest hell, the tamenga, the one who experiences heavy suffering in the hell without interruption, without break. That one, then the highest, the formless realm, the fourth one, who actualized the tip of samsara. So all totally, like gets totally, under the control of the delusion karma, so chapa. So nature, all nature suffering, prevented by suffering. Papa was chapa, so the gets contaminated seed of delusion karma. So from that seed, delusion rises again, and the suffering rises again. So compounding suffering, pervasive, compounding suffering. That's so. All those who have the desire, formless, all the aggregated nature suffering like that. So how long they are live in the formless realm, then they know from where they came. When they die, they know that where they're going to be reborn, what they're now, somebody. But that was so much suffering there. So when they die, so they have no ability to be there forever. No. Then descent, rebirth in the formless and formless realm, the desire realm, the hell, lower realm, mostly lower realm. After higher, but then lower. Never wrong, never. So no choice to be there forever. No. So this third suffering. So what I said. All the suffering of the world. Yes, any suffering, including depression, diarrhea. You see, you're so skinny, but you think you're fat. Then you see, don't really eat food. So afraid to eat more food. Then, you don't listen well, you respond. Then because your body is so fat, but because did the opposite. That's also very strange problems. There's something else, others. I don't remember now. So anyway, all those came from the root of all this suffering, ignorance. There are different ignorance, but this particular ignorance while there's no I, self, real I, that means the real I. As from beginning to rebirth, it has appeared that way, and it's the hallucination mind, to your hallucination mind, and you totally believe in that. So, then totally believe in that. So that ignorance. I exist from it. Total believe in that. That ignorance. So to be free from the oceans of samsara suffering, so you need to eliminate this root of samsara, your root of samsara. And that is then you need to realize emptiness. Don't Therefore, the Buddha has taught a dependent arising. So, if you meditate well, if you know how to meditate well, the subtle dependent arising, then more you meditate on that, more the dependent arising. Then, without mistake, more correct than meditation on emptiness. More you meditate on dependent arising, subtle dependent arising. You see, more you know that, then becomes more correct your meditation on emptiness, realization of the emptiness. Correct. You see, the I, there's no I existing from its own side. Even the very subtle, you see, the Savatandrika believes that I truly do not exist from its side, but I truly do not exist from its side without mind leveling. The undefected mind, by appearing to their mind, then it's imputed. Totally exists from its own side. So that is a person's view, truly exists. So that do not exist. That is the right view, according to Pasangya. How's that? Savatandrika. Sorry, Savatandrika. So Savatandrika says, yes, the I, labeled by mind, but not merely labeled by mind. Labeled by mind, yes, but also so it doesn't truly exist, but it exists from its side. But it exists from the side. It exists by nature. So still, I think our everyday language, then we call real I. So I think still, believe pure believe real I, sort of real I. Even though the mind labeled, undefected mind labeled. So so that is exact object reputed according to Pasangya. What Madamika Pasangya, what Tanjura. It is exact. There's object reputed. Even though it's labeled by mind, but it exists. There's something from its own side. Or that. Something extremely subtle. Extremely subtle. That one is. So what you say is not immediately labeled by the mind. That is a subtle objective reputation. According to Pasangya. Oh, that one. So when you realize that, doesn't go through window, door, anything. Just even holding on that real I, but the actual one is that so tiny one, so subtle one. There's something leveled by mind, but there's something from inside. Holding that, so then they get so precious. Suddenly it's not there. Doesn't go anywhere, but it is. But while you're holding, it is not there. Suddenly you discover there's a fall. It is, first of all, it is false. Gotcha. Recognize gotcha. False. It's not there. False. Then after fall, then immediate. Then it doesn't go anywhere. It's just not there. That's the biggest, for law intelligence, biggest shock. Because you've been believing from beginning to birth. Only now you start to realize. So that's the biggest shock. My interpretation is that bigger than you meet tiger in the road. Bigger fear from very deep of heart, your heart. So that's it. For raw intelligence. High intelligence, Bodhisattva then tears come, pause, stands up, tears come, so unbelievable happy. Like that. I hear that among the student sanghas or some they experience like that. But then you see the problem is difficult to continue. Problem is then the circumstances or other conditions you're always not one place, so that you move around, and then always the mind is influenced by external things, and then your life changes from one girl. So much influenced by outside. You see, ugly, nice, beautiful world object. So much occupied by the mind. You don't control your mind. Like if you practice mindfulness in the emptiness and dependent arising, so outside object cannot influence you. So you control your mental impermanence, nature, the subtle impermanence. You control. Is you want to control the objects. But you don't meditate, you don't have realization, then outside object control your mind. So that's how your life is. You may have some experience, but you really cannot abide in that for a long time. It changes, and then your life changes. Then as well, unable to practice Dharma. Even short time there was some good experience, but then, so this happens. So when you don't have stable mind, Dharma practice, controlling the stable, your mind controls the phenomena, the objects. So that's so important. Otherwise, outside control your mind, then finish your life. Cannot be a monkey even there. So not a Dharma practice. So that's how it is. All the delusion, crowds of delusion, I say crowds. Rain falling, like the ants in the nest, like that. Delusion, all the gone. Life become like that. So it's so you need to, therefore, Buddha has revealed it, to realize emptiness. Buddha has revealed the dependent arising. Okay. So therefore, when you meditate on emptiness, or rather meditate, what do you think? But dependent arising, the more you meditate on the dependent arising, things Oh, then no cheating, no less mistake, or no, more more correct guidance, and so to realize the emptiness, correct emptiness. So something that which exists from inside, then what around you believe by them, true, non-existent from inside. Oh, you see, by mentioning the dependentizing, self-dependentizing. The why exists is because the valid base exists. If the valid base is not there, then it bears to taxi. Taxi, what is it to be labeled? There's the base. So once it's there, then taxi, what is labeled, it exists. But once taxi, what is to be labeled, base to be labeled is not there, then taxi, what is labeled, it doesn't exist. So taxi doesn't exist. So mainly taxi, valid base, where to be labeled on taxi. So that's the main question is that taxi, what is the label? It always there. It always exists. So like that, yeah. So therefore, I action object samsara nirvana, health, enlightenment, happiness, problem every day, everything. Everything kasure. Everything is what exists. What exists, everything is merely labeled by the mind, because there's a valid base. So everything what exists exists mere name. So therefore nothing exists from inside. Therefore nothing exists from inside. So therefore you can see now, because dependentizing, self-dependentizing, existing mere name, mere image by mind, so nothing exists from society. Oh, that nothing exists from society. Oh, that now goes right to the point. Nothing exists from society. Totally. So many people, many meditators who don't have karma, marriage, extensive marriage, cannot realize this. They think it's your fault in nihilism. So for them to Rangjiva view, some more fit to the Rangjiva view or some type of view like that. So Sanjiva view is or the Buddha taught, or Nagarjuna taught, or Lama Tsungava, or Jimila said, famous one. Or then you see the subtle rising existing in mere name, so don't pitch, don't understand. They think it's for your nihilism, your fellow nihilism. So you know that. So yeah, so that's another. So the benefits of mental emptiness. Konzak chambasinga da chimbidole. Konzak piles of the rare ones. Chambasinga da chimbidole. From the sutra, the konzak piled jewel. Piled rare ones. Chambasinga da chimbi. The great sound of, great roaring sound of loving kindness sunlight. It is said, 동생이 동안chamber 지진이 감탐지 림비나 되는 집이 최대 리자와 리자냐 제바베 타는 서고도 뭐 채점도 최삼말라 서고대비 순환하고 강 삼지미 잡아 치워서 so it is said in that sutra great thousand of 3,000 universes. That means one universe, two universes, 1,000. 10,000 like that, 1,000 or 3,000 for the second thousand. Then it goes down second thousand. Then you count like that 1,000, 1, 2, 3. So that's called great 1,000, 3,000 universes. So fill up all that with 7 kinds of jewels. All that you fill up with the 7 types of jewel made of stupa. Stupa, size of stupa is like Mount Meru. Equal to the Mount Meru. Stupa made of 7 types of jewels. So feel the great 1,000, 3,000 universes. Even you did that much merit, you know, unbelievable merit you collect. Even you build a small stupa with earth. Merits incredible. How many atoms it has? You know, small stupa like that. How many atoms it has? There many lifetime we born as king in devotee human realm. And there many times it's a perfect meditation. The firm concentration, the something, the form realm and the formless realm. You know, then you exalted path, Arya path, like Buddha says, Arya path. You are free from death, old age, disease, rebirth. Then you create them in the cause of enlightenment. How many atoms does it must do by has? That's the essence of what I say. So now that big stupa equal as the Mount Meru. The matter of bricks 7 types of jewels. Unbelievable. So, but then you see time snapping finger, that's what you mentioned emptiness. Profound Dharma, it's the emptiness. Then achieving the patience. I think part of second part of preparatory, part of merit, Jolam, part of preparation. That is 4. Jolam, heat, Zema, Zopa, patience, Chojo, Sun, Dharma. So within the 4 categories, Zema, Zopa, third one, Zopa. So I think that no fear of, totally no fear from that, the emptiness. So it's in emptiness, you achieve that patience, it's a part of patience. In 1 second, material emptiness, just 1 second, like that. So this one, you collect 4 more greater merit. Then the first one, all that belongs to equal amount of small. You have to know that. Then, Javita Sutra of the meeting of Father Mother. 10 years, you practice 5 paramita. Charity, morality, patience, perseverance, meditation. Then you meditate emptiness. Even 1 second, just meditate on emptiness. No, meditate. Listening, teachings on emptiness. Wow, even just you could have much greater merit. Then for 10 years, practicing 5 parameters. Then 10 years listening, teachings, and evidence. Then you reveal to 1 sentence being emptiness. You got much more greater merit. Then 10 years listening to them. Then Buddha told Sharipu, anybody revealing emptiness 10 years, for 10 years, then duration like this, mental emptiness. Numberless greater merit you collect. Numberless greater than before. Revealing the emptiness for 10 years person. Wow. Okay, we stop there. Okay. Okay, that's today is no. Chanjo Sanjo Rinpoche Maje Pana Juje Jeba Nyamba Meba Ne Gondo Then and then yourself also in the meaning Gondja Raja Da Meva Da Junde Dende Rua Mevani Pesa Game Dosa Java Ye Ojo Gonda Dawa Jinji. Somebody read the English.
Samsara and nirvana lack even an atom of inherent existence, and cause and effect independent arising and train. I seek your blessings to discern the meaning of Nagarjuna's thought, that these two are mutually complementary and not contradictory.
All hand out, did all the master best time is a very chocolate, the time had chocolate, nobody sent in the main, nobody with that. All that, all that.
People have so much suffering, that particular virus, immediately recover, heal. I never get a ball or minimal all the wishes be succeeded on the holy Dharma. And general bodhichitta to never give harm to any sentence, only benefit cause happiness to sentiment. Only achieving that when it's good possible. Okay. Semjane jinye ba nyudo nele ta juje do nena ma lu ba ta do jo ame ba jo semjane ba jinye ba nyudo nele ta juje Doan ena malu ba da do joy me ba joy sem ne ba ne ba nyo do ne da ju de doan ena malu ba da do Joy me bao joy, and also died. I did me never get a ball. I did all the best of it. I made to go back there. I made to go back there. Listen to somebody. Man, be born in the pure land where they can become allowed to do and listen, that is perfectly memorable. With the Maharaja, made a public call by man, go to reveal no man, and missing a padre and man, please the most dollar man, do us right, meditating and lad man, was by. Yawa gundu ayangda lama dantame chini bala longte jinsada lamji yonde razo nendoje change kopan yodo I can't do that. Get all the balls of the best of the school of Rabbit, the Rabbit, the Rabbit, the Rabbit, the Buddha, succeed all the wishes of sentence bangs and more than which granted joy. May I complete all the sentence brings hopes. More than which one trees. Okay, then. Do all the best of it. I made it to let me did. I made it to let me number the Buddha. But my seeing, hearing, remembering, touching, or then by sentiment, seeing me, hearing, remembering, touching me, just like that, all their suffering if he's right. And with this all happiness, enlightenment, immediately. That's take all the sentiments, sovereign causes, give all the ones on merits result of the happiness to the sentiment. They all began that. Did all the padre, besa, mera, zuglata, parameter, lamera, zuglata, numbers, sentence, numbers, Buddha. It appears real from that, do not exist from his own side. But I did it, I exist, don't exist, exist. Is you the Buddha which do not exist from the side, exist in the man. How did all the sand in the bell do not exist from the side, they stay here. Exist outside, but exist in the man. Exist in the man. The Buddha lead to the Buddha which exists. Do not exist from inside, but exist in the man. By myself alone, who they do not exist from inside, exist in the man. Okay, jumble Bavia Chitra Jimbata Kundra Sambua Dian Deji. The Togun Jojo Zondo Jago Waja Don Jero. Oh, the Jebe Jawa Sam Jeju Ngoa Gang La Chuto. The Sambua Jera to. Commander, So